Good evening, Trojans. My name is Esther Lanier, and I am the Senior Career Advisor for doctoral and graduate students for the Career Engagement Team at the Career Center. And tonight, I'm pleased to come before you to talk to you about how to secure an internship for doctoral and graduate students. So I'm hoping that those who have joined us today are doctoral and graduate students, and my goal is really just to help you navigate that process while you're here at USC and even beyond as well, because looking at an internship search is no different than looking at a job, which is going to be your ultimate goal as you prepare for the workforce. This webinar is being recorded, so this will be made available to you as well for later reference. All right, so at the Career Center, our goal and our mission is to support you with your diverse aspirations, your identities, and experiences so that you can seek professional opportunities while you're here, but also beyond USC. We are here to support you from all different degrees and programs. And we also want to let you know that you also have services through your own particular programs as well. So please utilize those too. Different ways that we can serve you are through drop-ins, which are held every day from 1 to 3:30 in our student union building, STU 110. We can definitely also meet with you through 30-minute appointments through Connect SC. So one of my tips for you today is to make Connect SC your friend. One, because it is where all the resources I'll be going over today are housed, and also it's a resource that you'll be able to use once you become an alumni. So please do take some moment to make sure that your Connect SC profile is fully complete and that you browse through it and just really familiarize yourself with the resource. So what's an internship? I'm sure most of you know, but just want to take the opportunity to tell you that obviously we're all seeking to get experience in industry role. And so therefore we're looking to get hands-on experience through a project-based learning process. Yes, internships can be paid and unpaid. Either way, they are still very important for you to consider only because it's the experience that you're going to be able to present to the employers once you start engaging with them through the many different forms, through a career fair, through job search engines that you might be familiar with or through your networking. So that's how you're going to start gaining your experience. And I'm sure some of you already may have some experience that have joined us as well. So again, it's really to gain that experience, those skill sets to really be in the know what's happening in the field of your choice. Definitely to make connections with professionals and sometimes even identify a mentor. Just to tell you that my experience is through one of my internships, that is how I was able to identify a mentor that is still my mentor to this day. So definitely also an opportunity to expose yourself to the company and to the various positions that the organization has at hand, and to also learn about professional etiquette. And again, the goal also is that that potential internship can turn into a future opportunity as well. So they are very important, and as such, do take some time to navigate and start learning more about the internship experience. So I wanted to show you also that obviously the benefit is that you gain personal development because you get to see what skills you have gained and what skills you might need to look into, or any gaps in your skills. It's an opportunity for you to, again, get in touch with inside employees and know more about the culture of the organization. You're getting hands-on training, your experience is growing, identifying a potential mentor, you're getting hands-on practice, and obviously you're looking at moving forward with your goals and the skills piece, which is very important because that is what you will be able to showcase to the employer once you are ready to start sending out your resume for the desired positions that you are interested in. I wanted to show you also some outside USC resources that you can turn to, and I'm sure you have your own list as well, but these are just a couple lists that you can take a look at that are offered through our website. So I will not go through each and every single one of them, or else I'll be keeping you here too long, but definitely I'll touch base on some of them. So Paragon 1, these are opportunities to have internships that are paid. Also with Parker Dewey and Forage, they're pretty much virtual learning experiences that you can participate in. just to name a few. Obviously, there's many more that you can tap into. Okay, so how do we start internship search? It's very important that when you think about embarking in that process, that you ask yourself, well, what do I like and don't like? What skills do I have? And how do they apply to the industry that I'm looking to be exposed to or explore? So in career, we have a career development process. And the first step is to get to know yourself. And you have to ask yourself those questions because you are you, and everything that's about you is unique. And so we have different resources that you can definitely look into to help you be able to have a voice to what are my skills and what is that and how do I present that to an employer. So for example, Skill Up is a resource that you can tap into that will give you professional advancement opportunities, and is designed to address any gaps in skills that you may identify, and also have the opportunity to communicate with other uh, peers too. Your next step is another resource that you can tap into to identify skill sets. What are your values? Do I have a knack for entrepreneurship? And if you are, for example, a PhD student or doctoral student that's joining us today, we have a couple of resources for you to take advantage of as well. Versatile PhD, which is a go-to resource for PhD students and postdoctoral students. This is where you'll find a variety of different benefits to this resource. One of them is that they have a resource called Options for Success, which is really meant to have it be a career exploration tool to really help you, assess what are the steps you need to take in terms of your own journey in your PhD program. And also, I know that sometimes we may be looking at opportunities outside of the academy, so that is a great resource that Versatile PhD offers through their PhD Career Finder. So what it does, it gives you opportunities of how, for example, a history degree individual went into consulting, for example. And so we'll give you what that process was, whether you're going into a non-academic opportunity, humanities, social sciences, or in the STEM field. Same thing with my IDP, science careers, and LinkedIn Learning. Why would you say LinkedIn Learning is part of this interest area? Because remember that as you are learning more about different areas, LinkedIn Learning can come in to start knowing what are the trends that are happening within the field that you are interested in. And as you learn more about it, it will also help you have that advantage in your communication with potential employers. So definitely make LinkedIn a resource, an additional resource, because sometimes you have to identify, well, I don't have this particular skill set, how else can I be exposed to it? And this is a great resource for you. You have access through this particular platform through USC. So definitely take advantage of that. So in order to continue with the internship search, you have to do your work and you have to do some market research, because you need to know what industries are existing now, which ones are up and coming industries, what's happening in terms of just the job market in itself, what companies are now based in the US, and now they're also based abroad, and vice versa, companies abroad that are based in the US. So these are some resources that are available to you as well. One great resource that I really like is the World Economic Forum. It gives you the future of jobs report, and that's really good insight in terms of, for example, how AI is changing the workforce as we know it, and it has changed it. Also gives you economic reports and the USC library guides as well. That gives you industry and research information about companies, professional associations. So all this information is available to you at your fingertips. And so internally, though, through the Career Center, we do have Connect SC. So a lot of the resources that are going to be mentioned here, you might have already come across them yourself, but they all serve in some capacity of a job search engine. So for example, Vault. Vault is a career guide, pretty much online career books that you can learn about different industries of your choice. InnerStride is a resource that you can utilize as an international student. It's a resource that It was created by international students for international students to really help you navigate what that job search looks like as well. Going global. This is a great resource for students that need to be sponsored. And so it offers you the list of companies that have submitted for H-1B visa sponsorship across different fields. Career Shift. It is a job board system as well, but also serves as a networking opportunity where you can look up USC alumni at Disney, for example, and it will tell you who those particular individuals will be. And most of us are looking for that famous email. Well, guess what? Career Shift is able to provide you with that as well. We do subscribe to a couple of different resources too, which is Opportunities in Public Affairs, which gives you a lot of insight in terms of not just, because I'm interested in opportunities within diplomacy or public affairs, but it's very broad, I would say. It has communication, nonprofit information, fundraising type of opportunities too, and it's a nationwide resource too. We have environmental career opportunities. If you're interested in all about sustainability, that's a great resource for you. If you're interested more in terms of the entertainment space, art search, if you're more into the music space, bridge, and connecting majors to careers, it is a resource that also will give you opportunities to explore other job search engines too. And it's a great resource too as well for understanding how your particular area of study is going to come across different industries as well. We also have Handshake, and don't forget that you do have your school-based career services as well that are able to provide you a specific opportunities, I would say, in terms of your particular program. And don't forget the Trojan Network. So the moment you said yes to USC, that Trojan Network started for you. Again, LinkedIn and the company websites, and obviously professional associations are critical to be part of when you're a student. One, because you can join them as a student and therefore pay student fees. You get access to their membership, and you get access to opportunities that may not be getting listed anywhere else. And also it's an opportunity for you to potentially volunteer and get yourself more involved with the association as well at a national level. So I'll keep going with the presentation. We'll definitely answer your questions as we go through the presentation. So don't worry, we'll get to your questions. I just want to get through this part first, just because I want to give you a lot more time to answer your questions, okay? All right, so there are additional resources here that I came across that, according, to your various fields, you can relate to. And so again, there's so many of them in here, the NIH, for example, Pathways to Science. If you're looking more at the research space or federally funded type of R&D opportunities, there you go. Obviously, if you're looking for more academic or higher ed, there's a variety of different connections or job boards that you can take a look at and participate and explore. And obviously for postdocs as well, if you're joining us today. So I want to also tell you that it's important that you also take a look at fellowships, because it's another way that you can get experience. So definitely take a look at the graduate school fellowship opportunities and apply as your schedule allows. And also for if you're more like a master level student, you can definitely go through the Academic Honors and Fellowships office, and they also have various opportunities there that you can take a look at. So you already know more or less about the internship space, but why are fellowships important? Definitely because they focus on professional development, your academic research. And obviously they're mostly for graduate and postdoc students as well. And they require you as the applicant to propose your project or study to complete during that period of time that the fellowship is carried for. And obviously it's usually paid with a stipend, not necessarily an hourly wage, which is something that internships are sometimes paid, obviously, and we do want them to get paid. But either or, both opportunities, whether you go through an internship route or to a fellowship route, is really to give you that exposure and that experience hands-on. All right, so you know about the basic information, kind of where to go and get some resources, but now you have to get ready to apply. And whether the employer is asking you for a CV or a resume, we have resources for you. So if you have not become yourself familiar with VMAC, by all means, please make that your friend as well, only because it's a 24/7 AI resume review system that will give you in the moment, feedback as to how you're preparing your resume. At the Career Center, we can tell definitely when a student has utilized VMark because it really handles a lot of the basic components of the formatting and the content. It really, pushes you to identify stronger action verbs and your action, your bullet points, for example, are they showcasing accomplishment based information, not just a resume that's listing job duties. So definitely please do utilize VMark. It's available to you. And we do have a resume handbook or effective resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles handbook that you can definitely access through our website or through this QR code too. All right, so the main thing that I always work with students, graduate students, is that really giving themselves a voice for their skills. And believe me, you have a lot of them, but you have to call them out and you have to own them. So you have the ability to adapt fairly quickly. And you definitely know how to, thrive in competitive environments. You can work independently or in a team. You can definitely convey, complex information to experts and non-experts, and that you may work with. You can resolve conflict. So you are learning a lot of skill sets that are not unearthed yet. And so this is just to give you a sense of really getting a hold of your skill sets and then having that inventory so that when you come across an opportunity, you know what skill sets you have and you can showcase them to the employer via your resume. But how do I, identify what those are? You have to translate those skills because I know you and I can thrive in competitive environments, but what makes you different than me? So you have to choose the right action verbs and be able to make that message, clear as to how you've done that, making sure that you not just tell me you are competitive and you can thrive in a very fast-paced competitive environment, but how have you done that? So it's really important that you get to the how part because that is the essential information employers will want to hear from you, that you're exemplifying what that experience is for you. So I have an example to share with you of how to make that happen. So you want to make sure your bullet points are always action-oriented statements. You have your action verb, which I call your skill. Okay. You have your transition phrase, which is the reason or the why or the purpose that you're telling me that particular action or that skill. And then what is the result or the impact or the value you offer based on what that particular bullet you're providing on your resume. So here's an example of a not so good bullet point. Work as a research assistant in a writing program. Well, first of all, we'll work. Therefore, at least we need to have a better action verb choice, right? And then I'm pretty sure that as part of the information you're putting on the resume, research assistant is your title. So I already know that. Okay, so then that's pretty just general. There's nothing exciting about what that information tells me. Well, what about this one here? It's more accomplishment or more action oriented. So launch success, a successful new study on writing skills, published results in 2 national journals and receive a $5,000 grant. Now, granted, there might be times where you don't have the space to showcase a number or give a quantifying type of result. But what did that particular accomplishment mean to the department or to the your principal investigator, to your research supervisor? What did that do for the departments? Always make sure that you give yourself credit for the work that you've done for the employer at hand. So the difference here in terms of the bullet point that's, here in terms of one that is not, showing a action oriented or result based versus one that is that you have to, again, if you can, show quantitative information, show the results. That's the why you're good, not necessarily that you're telling me you're great, but there's an actual impact that you have made. So resume bullet points, remember, are always tailored to the job. Now, the job description, always think of it as well, too, in the sense that it gives you the blueprint to the job. You don't have to make up action verbs because it gives it to you. So therefore, take time to digest the whole description. Look at the description keywords. If they're repeating, it's because it's important. And it's because whether you like it or not, your resume will be going through some applicant tracking system, and it's going to be picked based on those particular keywords. So don't overlook the job description. Really analyze it and just get a sense of what is this employer asking, and then you make the connections based on your experience. Now, should you not have, for example, hands-on experience from prior opportunities, your projects come into play because it's your academic experience you also want to leverage. So remember that your work, even though it is not being presented to an employer, it is presented to your professor, which is technically the one that is your boss, as far as the work that you're doing in class. Okay, so let's stop here for a little bit and let's see what questions we have going on. All right. So if you want to write the question on the chat, that'd be great, please. All right. Okay, so let's put some information in there. All right, okay. So please put your questions on the chat, okay? All right. Okay, so one question here, it says, what types of things should we be highlighting in our cover letter, especially if the application already has a question of why do you want to work here? Okay, so this is where you want to make sure that your cover letter is not just a repetitive document of what your resume says. Okay, I think of the cover letter as a space where tell me about yourself, why should I hire you? This is not the space where you're going to tell me all about how great you are and what you want to get out of the internship or the experience. It's always about what you bring to the opportunity. So make sure that the cover letter is to address what it is that you are wanting to showcase to the employer that you bring as you understand what the job is, okay? Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Yes, the slides will be provided to you. Cool. Let's see here. Okay, I'm in mentorship programs that take up a lot of time, so wondering how important an internship would be. Well, remember the internship is a job, and the internship really is with that intention to help you get hands-on experience. Now, if through that mentorship program you are able to showcase experience and you actually, being able to make an impact of some capacity, by all means, but employers will always want it with we'll always want someone that comes in with experience. So make sure that that is something that you do take some time to, get during the time that you're here at USC. Okay, next question. Should the job description section of an internship application be the same as the information put in a resume? Should the job description section of an internship application be the same as the information put in a resume? I'm not sure what you're trying to ask me here. Job description. So you want to use a job description. I just address it this way. The job description really is, like I mentioned earlier, the blueprint of the job. Okay, what the employer is looking for. They're not, trying to hide anything else. Okay, so your job on your resume or your cover letter is to make sure that you are connecting your experience to that particular opportunity. So you do want to address, the job description on your resume based on your experience. All you're doing is making those connections, okay? All right, next question here. In our resume, which is more important as a grad student with experience? Should we put our school info first or our work experience first? That's a great question. It depends how much experience you bring to the table. If you're someone that has come into a graduate program and you've had, let's say, I don't know, let's say 2 to 3 or even let's say 2 to 5 years of experience in the workforce, and you feel that is what really makes you stand out based on the experience, put that first. You know what I mean? And your education experience is still going to be part of your resume story anyway. So the resume, you always want to make sure you tailor it, because remember that the employer is not going to go and scan a resume to make sense of what you are trying to say, you need to make sure that that organization is good to go, that this is exactly what I want the person that's looking at my resume to see first, because it's so relevant to what that job is calling for. Okay, so whether it be experience first or education, it's your call, because remember, you are the first person that is convincing themselves that this is what you bring to the table, not the employer. The employer just receives what you put on paper. Okay. How many bullet points should pretty much go on your resume? I would say an average of 5 bullet points is great, but make sure that those resume bullet points make sense, that they're not just general, phrases, or that it becomes a three, sentence kind of a bullet point. It has to have a good sense of what you're trying to say. I always consider it as I have a beginning, a middle, and an end to my bullet points. Okay, and that's the reason why I wanted to share this action verb accomplishment formula with you. Okay. Okay, how to convert my undergrad GPA from a 10-point scale to the okay. So your GPA, don't worry about it. You don't have to put an undergrad GPA if you're a graduate student. The employers is not evaluating you at an undergrad level. So you can provide the GPA once you have that at pretty much at the end of the semester, but I wouldn't get too caught up with, well, what's my undergrad GPA? Okay. All right, let's see. All right, I'm gonna stop after this one, okay, so I can continue. So I'm an international grad student in Annenberg. Okay, great, welcome. I had 3 years of working experience and I know my goal and what life. Good for you. Do you suggest me to do an internship or should I aim higher? Okay. So here's the deal. Look, if you have time, so you came into, a new program, you're using that probably to pivot into something else potentially, or to continue in the same field. Remember that the goal is always to keep up your skill sets, that you're showcasing to the employer that you didn't stop your experience only at a certain period of time, but that you can actually balance your academics with, experience as well. So if your program is able to afford you that time to get an internship, I would. You're never going to go wrong by getting an internship. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to continue. All right. Because I know you guys have a lot of great questions. So let's move on here. Okay. So here are my take homes. Again, Taylor. You have to do that because the audience is not audience of you. Is the audience, for example, if I was the employer, is audience of Esther. So I need to see that what you wrote on the resume, based on what that description says, that it makes sense. You know what I mean? So don't assume, well, Esther should figure out what I'm trying to say. If you don't organize it, I don't know you. I'm not going to call you or email you to ask you what you meant on your resume. So therefore, don't even waste your time if you have a very disorganized resume that doesn't make sense, because it has to make sense to the person that doesn't know you. Okay. So again, use action words because they're the key. And then obviously use the industry language. That's why it's important that you partake in doing your industry research, in network and all that stuff. Again, anything you put on your resume is fair game. Okay. I can ask you anything on that resume if I'm the employer. So when you write something in there and I ask you, don't look like you don't know what I'm talking about, because I will ask you. Okay. So, and obviously just make sure that that's clear and concise. A lot of times I see this a lot with students that want to leverage their research and they speak all the research terminology, which is great, but how does that apply to an industry type of opportunity? So try to make the connections as much as you can. Remember that the research, you're trying to explain it to someone that is not in your place of work, in your lab, for example, and therefore you're looking to have them understand that the experience you have is important for them to see, because you can help them out. Obviously, use bullet points, no paragraphs, please, because no one's going to read a paragraph. So therefore, no typos as well. So make sure you use your Grammarly so that you can avoid your typos or extra spaces. Believe me, recruiters take a look at resumes all day long, so they can pinpoint a lot of, very, little mistakes. Okay, so moving on to networking. Okay, so I want you to look at your networking opportunity, not just because I gotta go talk to people. No, your job internship and your job search is all about networking too. And this is nothing new, you know that, okay? But you have to use it. You have to use it because if not, you're going to feel like it doesn't feel natural for you. If you think about it, we're all networking. I mean, I'm answering all these questions for you. There's 249 individuals in this call. So I'm a network. I'm someone you can reach out to. Each of you are someone you can reach out to. Your professors, they're always there for you, but you have to, approach them and ask them questions. Your classmates, if you know through the Trojan Network, for example, you can actually see classmates, as part of the Trojan Network. So utilize them as well. Your mentors and your family and your friends, obviously. So don't underestimate every single way that you can network, okay? The alumni, is always there waiting for you as well. So the Trojan Network is there, it even gives you information on how to approach or what does it call it, like email templates on how to approach someone. If you see, for example, on the Trojan Network, if the person's profile is has like a little I think if I remember if it's blue or red, but it means that the person's active, you can chat with them right there and there. LinkedIn, obviously, right? You know how to use LinkedIn, but the Career Center YouTube channel has great information on networking. We've had a variety of different networking workshops that hold so much valuable information that you can leverage. Remember, networking is unique to every single person. Okay, so make it your own, but practice it. And again, always be yourself. When you network, it's not just because I'm looking for something, but can I help someone in the process too? All right, let's see what I have next here. Okay, so by the time you send your resume and the employer is engaging with you, here comes the interview, right? So therefore, you will have to prepare for that. Therefore, you've already done some research with the company, and now you have to prepare for the interview. We have some resources for you online, because remember that this is 24/7 access for you, okay? So big interview on Connect SC, it gives you a wide variety, a library of questions that you can choose based on industry, based on the skill level. You can, also look into it as far as getting that muscle ready to start negotiating, because that's another one that is part of this whole process. So don't leave negotiating toward the end, because it's personal. I would say it's personal. You can learn techniques from everyone, but at the end of the day, you got to make it your own. Okay. You can always meet with any of us at the Career Center to do a mock interview. If you do that, we please require that you send us a job description along with your resume, so we know what we're interviewing you for. If not, it's just going to be sort of more like a general basics type of interview type of session. And for those of you that might be interested in consulting, Management Consulted is a case interview and prep vendor, pretty much, that you can tap into. We have that information on Connect SC, and coming this semester too, we're going to have a series of interview workshops, and they're going to be doing a case interview workshop for about 3 hours or so, September 26th, if I'm not mistaken. So please do take some time if you want to get your consulting and your case interviewing skills up to par. So obviously follow up with a thank you note, and then again review the offer letter details. This here, you should know already. Obviously, if an offer is coming your way with an internship, do never walk away assuming that you know everything. Ask questions, make sure that information is written down for you in terms of as to what the expectation is of that internship, when it's going to start, and if there's any pay involved, any legalities behind it, whether you have to do any optional legal disclosures, confidentiality agreements, non-compete or non-disclosure agreements. Just pay attention to all that information that the employer is going to be presenting to you. All right, so again, take care of yourself, okay, because this is a process and it takes time. And if you obviously want results, you have to put some time into it. You got to manage your time and do it well. Celebrate the small wins, even if you talk to a whole new person, because networking seems like a daunting task, but that's something you put yourself, to do. Celebrate yourself. You have to make sure that you just put time into the internship search or job search process, not just while you're here, but even beyond. This is a life skill you really want to hone in right away. And so always ask for help. It's okay. We're here to help you, so whether you want to seek out any counseling or mental services, by all means do too as well. But we're here to help you. All right, so I wanted to also share with you some key events that are happening this semester. Semester has started and we are definitely making it happen for you. So obviously today we had industry insights that is happening at the same time that I'm doing this presentation in terms of consulting. But here are the other additional topics that are coming through for the month of September and October. OCR, on campus recruiting, is happening as well, starting the 6th. We have an employer resume review that is coming up on the 5th too. It's virtually, so by all means, please do take the time to connect with the employer and make that happen. We have a mock interview night that's coming up too. So this is another great opportunity for you to network. So September 26th. We also had the fall career fair. So if you want to try networking, this is the best opportunity to do it at the career fair on the 15th. Obviously, we also have an international student career fair coming up on the 20th. So we're going to keep you busy. And I know it's a lot of things going on. But for PhD students, we hold the annual Beyond the PhD conference, pretty much every year. And it's being held on the October 11th. And so, but we're going to have a pre-conference meeting greet on the 5th. So please do join us. The registration is going to be starting September 10th. All right, so this is just a QR code for all the events happening. Everything is on our calendar, so there's nothing that you would necessarily need to miss if you are up to date with our Career Center. Definitely review the resources. Again, like I said earlier, make connectors to your friend. Everything that we talk about is in there. When you meet with us, we're on it with you, so make sure you attend events, schedule an appointment if you like, if that's what you feel will help you the best. Definitely follow us. We're all over the social media outlets. So our Instagram is always up and running and has great, cool things that you need to know. So please make sure that you also follow us there. All right, thank you and fight on, everyone. I will now get to answer some of the additional questions you put on the chat. Okay, so here we go. Okay.
One of the common questions we're getting is, what should they put if they don't have a GPA yet? So it's their first semester in grad school and an employer is asking for a GPA.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So if you don't have a GPA, obviously you just started your semester, it's totally okay. So if that's where you feel like you want to put your undergrad GPA, you can totally do that. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the employer is also asking you for your transcripts. So that's, other routes that you can approach, or you can let the employer know too that, you will be able to have one at the end of the semester. Sometimes as you supply your transcripts, they know that you won't have one. So that's a great question. Okay, any other common questions that came through, Liz? Everything's...
No, that was the most common one.
Okay, all right. All right, someone's asking, they have 2 to 5 years of professional leadership experience and want to highlight this. Is it acceptable if the resume is longer than 1 page? Yes, if your resume, usually when we go into like a graduate program, chances are we're going to have already some experience, prior to coming into a grad program. So if you feel that 2 pages will justify it, great. But make it valuable 2 pages, okay? This is not, kind of here's everything figured out, see what you kind of want to get from my experience here that makes sense to you. So as long as it's relevant, a max of 2 pages will be totally fine. But we always just, always say a 1 page, or like say what you need to say in a 1 page, because remember, I consider the resume, it's a ticket to really just entice the employer to connect with you. It's not that you're going to be sharing your whole life, in everything that you provide. Okay. All right. So in an internship application, there's a section to fill in work experience. And in one of the sections, there's a description responsibility section. If I am also submitting a resume as part of this application, should this description section be the same as the info? Yes, so they do that because remember that companies keep track of their applicants. So whatever information the employer is asking on their application process, just do it. And you will always be able to submit your resume as well, okay? You have experience in engineering, but now you change major to a STEM management. How will you express this in a severe cover letter? Okay, well, this is, remember I said earlier, you have to identify your transferable skills, okay? So remember that you might be pivoting from one industry to the next, which is totally fine, but your skills remain. Your skills, whether it's be, that you have analytical skills, where you have your technical skills, where you have your communication skills, they all come with you. So this is what I'm talking about. You really have to take an inventory and really analyze a description and how your experiences in the past can be leveraged into that new role. So know your skill sets. That's going to be very, very important. All right. So if I hold an MBA before pursuing another PG program, could it make me overqualified for an entry level or internships? I don't have full-time work experience, only 11 months internships in total. So, this is where, again, the employers make those kind of choices based on what experience you bring as a whole. You know what I mean? So you really want to just approach the job search as in, look, if you know that you can do that job, apply. Let the employer tell you no. I mean, because if you start, kind of, oh, not that one, then you're never going to, look into applying for opportunities. So I would make the best that you can based on the experience that you bring in. And remember that when you're brought into that internship, you're making the case, that, you can say, even though you may find like, see that you're overqualified, but if what you're looking to do is to just get the opportunity to pivot into that industry, like always bring up what you can do for them, what type of benefit they will have in considering you for that role. Okay, international students, what's your advice when applying for roles? Sometimes hold on, oh, I didn't read it. Okay, sorry, let me see. Okay, sorry, it's right here. What's your advice when applying for roles? Sometimes it feels like we need state that we don't need sponsorship to get a seat at the interview table, and many employers do not know about OPT. Exactly. So here's the deal. As an international student, you have to educate the employers. And this is why I share some of the resources that I showed you earlier. When you look at going global, for example, it gives you those particular employers that do sponsor, or have submitted for sponsorship, I would say. When you look at Interstrat as well, the thing is that, if you want to submit your resume for those employers that you're interested in, whether, they, let's say, for example, they don't sponsor, you're applying, you want that seat at the table, you know what I mean? And you just have to go through the process, and that's one of the things about, a lot of companies not sponsoring. And that's where, as you get more familiar with in your networking and approaching the career fair in those particular employers that are going to be sponsoring, it's important to kind of get a sense as to what industries you need to start following, so that as you are trying to get that opportunity, that it's transferable. You know what I mean? Sometimes I see a lot of just internationals just wanting to have one specific area, and it's okay to be just on the bottom of the forest, but you have to see you have to see the canopy of the trees. You know what I mean? So don't just be discouraged that that you're not getting opportunities because of the sponsorship role, but just engage with the employers. If it takes educating, by all means do that. Okay, in undergrad, in senior year, and I'll be a PDP student in the spring. Would I be eligible to apply for internships open to grad students? Yeah, you would. I mean, at that point, you're going to be as a grad status. Okay, let's see. Is it important that the number of bullet points under each section is the same? For example, for one experience, I put 3 bullet points, but for the other, I have just 2 because that work was not. It's fine. An average of 4 to 5 is it's fine. So if you find that one will carry more weight than the others, it's totally fine. It's not like a written rule that you have to have 5 bullet points per job that you have. Remember, it's all about relevancy. Okay. All right. Okay. I have 2 semesters left and only received 1 internship. My placement specialty has not moved me forward for 2 semesters. Can I find? Yeah. Why would you not find your own internship? By all means, do whatever it takes. At the end of the day, you are the one that is going to walk away with the experience. So move mountains if you need to, but definitely get that experience under your belt. Let's see. Okay, adding to what Rose has stated, what if the company doesn't have an English name? Do I need to add your name or a link? Just add the name, you know, obviously a link, if you're handing in, it's up, I mean, obviously when you submit a resume, you know, through some online form, yeah, I guess you can submit a link, but just add the name. I mean, companies are what they are, you know, so give them their name. You don't have to translate into a different language. Can you apply to a company using a different email ID? No. Well, I wouldn't use a different email ID. You can apply to the same company as many times as you want, but remember that the employers are keeping track of the, you know, the applicants that come to the system, because that's why they're having you submit, you know, forms, obviously, right? So you can, if the rules are different, but I wouldn't be playing a game with the employer. Remember, they're keeping track of that. And I've been in recruitment before where I had to get resumes from resume databases, you know, and so you can tell that an applicant applied for like 5 different things. And what that happens is that you're not quite sure what you want. So I think it's better to really maybe focus on 1 or 2 jobs that you're really looking to really make a case for yourself. But just submitting resumes left and right, you know, to the same company across different jobs, I don't think that's going to look too positive to the employer. Okay, what do you recommend? Hold on, where am I? Hold on. What do you recommend for those who have done a career pivot in their experience, have nothing to do with their graduate degree? How would you approach setting up your resume? Well, that was me actually. My undergrad was in business, and then I went into counseling, 2 different worlds. And so that's where the the internships really helped me. I was able to leverage my background in HR to go into counseling, but you know, I pivoted into a whole new different industry. So again, remember, take an inventory of your skill sets, make a case as to how that is valuable to the employer. And that is the main key thing. If the GPA for undergrad is not decent, sure, you still need to put it. You don't have to. Again, remember, you know, they're not looking at you at the undergrad level if you're a graduate student. Okay, if my working experience is in an Asian corporation, which is not famous in States, do I need to make a small introduction? No, you don't. You are not marketing the company you worked at. You're marketing your skill sets. So you don't have to, you know, dedicate your resume to putting a description about, you know, what the company did or what type of products and services that company has. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's see, as an undergrad, as a grad and international student, I cannot work off campus the first year. What should I do for the first year? And what steps do I need to take for the incoming summer? Okay, so obviously, you know, for national students, you can definitely look for work on campus. That's going to be your best option. And, you know, definitely take a look at communicating with OIS so you can start understanding when CPT is going to take place for you. And so make OIS your friend as well. You need to make yourself aware so that you don't get, you know, out of your visa status. Okay, let's see. Yes, this recording will be made available to you. Do published research papers help in procuring internships? Okay, so if you find that they are relevant, why not? But I want to ask you to put every single research paper or publication that you have. Okay, it's you know, use it with caution. I would say that if you have a lot of experience and a lot of different academic accomplishments, this is where you may want to consider putting a you know, using your GitHub, for example, or making your own website, because it's going to give the employer a wider, you know, perspective of what you bring to the table. Let's see. So if you have a lot of years of experience, would be negative when applying for internships? Not necessarily, because remember my example, I pivoted from banking and recruitment to counseling, career counseling. So no, I took internships. In fact, it was part of my program that I had to complete, I think it was 600 hours of internship time. Okay. So any tips for a grad student that just came from undergrad looking for internships? Yes, your projects. That is definitely what you want to leverage in your experience, academic projects, because that was your job when you were in undergrad and your involvement, okay? All right, let's see what else. Does this info apply to for fellowship as well? Where there are there any resources targeting fellowships things? Okay, so yes, fellowships, yes, I did put information on the slides here about fellowships, and yes, fellowship is a job, so definitely use that as a reference for your job. Applying for a job and filling out work history, job responsibility, the same thing as the bullet points on your resume. Yeah, they can be. At that point, you're pretty much just copying and pasting from your resume into that employer's applicant tracking form. So advice on looking for a job, that's quite different from the concentration AI, student looking for software. I feel like it's not tailored, but remove my experience in AI makes my resume really empty. True. So again, I go back to what are the transferable skills you bring to the table? And if you know you have skill gaps, this is where you're going to have to do something on the side, whether you go through some additional training on your own, whether it be, for example, when I say LinkedIn Learning, for example, or any of the online courses that you can take. You can self-teach yourself a lot of things, you know what I mean? So you don't have to wait for and not have those experiences or those skill sets because it's not part of your program. Let's see here. What is the on-demand virtual interview for? So if you're referring to what is it called, the big interview, I'm not sure what you're asking. What is on-demand virtual interview for? This is, if it's a big interview, then definitely that's to help you with your resume preparation. And let's see here. Okay. My goodness, there's so many questions here, guys. Let's see. I think I've covered them. Liz, I think I covered most of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you've covered most of them. And
did.
for the ones who are unanswered, you can always make an appointment with one of us. It's more than just me and Esther. We also have a team of 8, 10 other colleagues who do advising. Or you can also come to drop-ins or email careers or interns. I'll put the email in the chat for you all.
Yeah, I do see a question here about gaps in employment because of, just family situations. You don't have to disclose that in the resume. If the employer will see that there's gaps in employment, it's totally fine. And you don't have to, give every single detail to the employer. It's just there was family situation that you don't have to go into deep details about personal information to an employer. Let's see. Yes, I think I captured most of the questions. Wow, you guys have great questions. This is awesome. Let's see here. Any other questions that you may have in the last 6 or so minutes that we have together? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that you joined us. I know that it's dinner time, so please do take care of yourself. And like I said, this information will be made available to you. And fight on and, come visit us at the Career Center as well. Thank you. Have a great evening.